I think that people make art because they want to see something that's not there yet. Well, I am Ana Segovia. I'm a painter. We're in my studio in Mexico City in San Pedro de los Pinos. One of my very first memories in life, painting next to my grandmother, who was a film actress, and a Sunday painter, as they call people who paint for fun. Yeah, I think I was always painting from whenever I was very little. But weirdly enough, I didn't want to be a painter. I really wanted to be a filmmaker. I come from a long line of filmmakers. And it wasn't until high school that I was taking an art class and I was writing my scripts and doing my storyboards that a really wise teacher came to me and told me, hey, I feel like you might be spending way too much time on the storyboard than on the filmmaking aspect of it. Why don't you consider doing this instead? And I resisted it at first, but then once I got into oil painting, everything changed for me. It was like, this is it. This is all I want to do. I mean, just sensorially, the act of picking up paint, like viscous paint, and putting it on a canvas, mixing it straight on the canvas, it's like butter. It's one of the most delightful experiences, just feeling your body in connection to what is going on there is addictive, truly, incredible. One of the most incredible things about painting is the sense of awe when you are able to pull something off you hadn't been able to. And it's impossible to find out what you did different. Say you wanted to paint an apple and the first 5 apples that you paint don't look like apples at all. They're red or muddy and for some reason your 6th or 7th apple kind of looks like an apple, and it's something that you did that you didn't think of and you aren't aware in a rational sense. It's the body that's slowly correcting your movements and the relationship between the colors and the palette and what's going on the canvas, that you make that one brushstroke and there's the apple, and there's a sense of awe at what you did that is delightful. You surprise yourself constantly. And so if you're painting and can do that, it means that you're really engaging with the medium in a way where you're allowing it, and that sort of weird, mysterious process by which you discover something new that really hooks you in. And once you're hooked, you're hooked. You just want to keep going. I think that's what is so incredible about painting. I wouldn't be making the work I'm making if I wasn't here. I'd be making some very different paintings, I'm sure. Mostly it's the energy. It's intense. It's a constant intensity. Mexico City, it's for one very colorful. It's chaotic. Like there's a lot of history to contend with. Like there's murals everywhere. The genesis of painting, like its context from colonial to Diego Rivera, it's impactful. Like the presence of Frida Kahlo. We all, at one point, came into contact with her work. And I mean, just imagine growing up with that. It's a lot. I always thought I was gonna leave Mexico City because my experience growing up was of homophobia. Just trying to figure myself out as an artist and a person, I started rewatching films I grew up with from the golden age of Mexican cinema. Coincided with a moment in my life where I realized I did not identify as a female. And I was trying to answer some questions about myself and my identity, and I spent the summer re-watching all those films. So my idea of masculinity was something that was very much informed by looking at these films. And so I found myself obsessing over the way that masculinity gets portrayed and performed, and still does in a way, through this archive of archetypes. And it was those sort of framing of the epic masculinity, the nationalistic masculinity, the sort of rigid image of what makes a Mexican man, right? Like, so all of our stereotypes are like right there. And El Charro is the ultimate macho. He's like the ultimate misogynist. He represents everything that's like new and old world. He represents hierarchy, like white hierarchy. So for me, having grown up with that, I realized all of my internalized like racisms and terrible things came directly from watching these films, which I then realized everyone in Mexico watches them still, right? And it's still a way to think about ourselves as Mexicans. And what I started to notice while going through the archive and the film stills and the actual films is that I was looking for a painting there for some reason. Like there's something about the composition of the medium, the experimentation of framing the body, like, honed back to painting. It's informed by painting, but then it's also rejecting it. So I started to notice how when I look at film, like 90% of the time I'm looking for the painting in the film, and then I'll sort of recrop it to like typical painting format. And then I'll paint that film still. And by painting the film still, I transform it. Like most of them are black and white, so there's this delightful exercise of imagining color, more like inventing the color, right? Not trying to replicate what the original color would be, but really sort of making it work. And then it sort of weirdly queers the image because I end up using like these very colorful, strident like color palettes. And it sort of, it throws that masculinity into crisis when you paint like the Charro as this pink sort of go-go figure. And it tones down that machismo, which I think also was a necessary step for me when I was discovering my own masculinity. I was trying to be the macho, taking myself a little too seriously. Like, if I behave this way, people will see me as a dude, not realizing that that's extremely toxic, right? Like, I started replicating like very problematic attitudes towards women, right? Because in my mind, that's what it meant to be a dude. So when I started reinvestigating, why do I think like that? Why do I think that this is what it means to be a man? I found the answer looking at those films. And a way to sort of tone that down and make myself not take it that seriously was the color palette. It was like a little like making fun of a macho, but by extension making fun of myself for thinking that way, right? Like sort of trying to unlearn those things. I mean, I find it that there is an attractiveness, like and a seduction, and something just so magnetic about El Charro or the Cowboy or, you know, any of these sort of hyper masculine tropes or archetypes that I'm seduced by as well. Like, seduced to want to embody that, like think of myself in those terms, while at the same time trying to not take it that seriously. So learning to be attracted to what you're attracted to, putting it out there, also not trying to give any answers, rather let that conflict exist and people see and maybe recognize it, is what I'm interested in, right? Like, I don't feel like I can fix masculinity, but I can point to say, like, I find this incredibly sexy and problematic, and that's it, right? I definitely do think that a successful painting of mine requires tension. If there is no tension in the painting, then to me there's no painting. Like, I'd rather, like, I have my bad paintings I keep locked away, and whenever I look at them, I'm like, this is dead. There's no energy, there's no conflict. When you're painting, you are negotiating with many things, but principally it's the idea, it's the painting you want to see, and the painting that's actually happening. You want to see something that's not there, and it's only in the desire of seeing that thing that the painting begins to exist, because it's in your head, and you have to be able to negotiate the desire of seeing the thing you want to see and what's actually happening. So you want to make a blue painting, and you try so hard to make it blue without realizing that what would actually make it work would be yellow. And sometimes it depends on your mood. Like, you really, really just want to see the blue painting, and so the frustration begins. And painting a lot of the times can be frustration, right? Yeah, painting, you know, it is like intoxicating, but it can also be very hard. Like, and you can be in conflict with it, and you can have a bad time painting, like just as much as a good time painting. Sometimes the painting just comes out, like in a sitting. It could be a huge painting, but I've somehow laid the color palette exactly as it should be, or exactly as the painting sort of requires it to be. And sometimes I would have gotten it so wrong that I rework the palette numerous times trying to find that tension, right? It's not just even like the relationship between colors, which absolutely like complementary colors and all of this color theory that goes into building a palette, but it really is something in the moment where you have to step back and look and think, and not think, like at the same time, and put one color down that radically transforms the meaning of the painting. To think about color is something I do constantly. The composition is color. Like, color modifies composition, so in the end it always, to me, like boils back down to that reality. For example, the body of work I've just started, I was literally stuck, so I decided to go back and revisit the Cowboy sort of archive and the Cowboy image and the idea. And I started painting with a very clear color palette in mind. And somehow it felt too serious. It felt like I was actually like romanticizing. And then I grabbed cadmium red and painted the entire cowboy chaps red. And something shifted. Like, the cowboy chaps became go-go boots. There was like all of this weird sort of very spontaneous eroticism, not just so much about like the figure of the cowboy, but there were all these moments of like vulvas, you know, and like all of a sudden this eroticism turning more sapphic, and then it's like dressing up the cowboy. And sure, if you look at chaps and the flaps, like you can tell those, but painting it red radically transformed it, and it supercharged it, and it, like, I feel like it is the most erotic I have gotten without the necessity of showing eroticism in that same way. And I really do believe that it was cadmium red. There's the power of color. I think that its entire like emotional core of this body of work has to do with the color red. And that's pretty cool to find out, to discover as an artist and get excited about. Painting now is very different to how it was perceived 10, 15, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, painting was dead, and it was like dead. Like, to be a painter would be shameful, right? It was definitely like the art of the petite bourgeoisie, and I mean, I came into an art world where like it felt like being in the closet again. Like, I was like, there was something tremendous at stake in being a painter. It was like, it wasn't just like a quality thing, it was a moral thing. And one of the things that I think began to happen while we were contending with like our own little art history, looking back at the muralists and revisiting, is I noticed a lot of painters of my generation were literally coming together to think about the ways in which painting can exist again. Painting is so lonely. I mean, it's wonderful. Like, I like to be alone, but it's you there with the thing. And so to share with a group who also is there alone doing the thing, it just created this culture of really trying to carve our way back into view. And I realized, like, oh, this is my safe space.